99 hustles. 99 hustles.
Welcome to the 99 Hustles podcast, where we interview the brightest minds in entrepreneurship and business. Hear compelling stories and tips and topics ranging from blogging to drop shipping, real estate, freelancing, and a variety of other hustles. We're back with our very first video episode today, actually, for the 99 Hustles YouTube viewership. This is a two-part conversation, and this is part two with our guest today, Kenyatta Griggs. Kenyatta is a pretty heavy voice in hip-hop culture of inspiring and giving out game to entrepreneurs and business owners. Kenyatta, thanks for joining us again today, man.
Man, anytime. What's happening with y'all?
What's up, man?
Hey, living, bro. Living. Appreciate it. Kenyatta, for those who don't know, is the author of the book Culture Vulture that he wrote alongside Dame Dash. And while that in itself is extremely impressive, Kenyatta is also a successful business owner, filmmaker, and overall content creator. He runs the brand Hip Hop Motivation and is back to drop more gems for our audience today. Once again, Kenyatta, thanks for being on the show again.
Man, anytime. Thanks for having me.
Now, on the first episode, which you can find on iTunes and Spotify under 99 Hustles, you told us that you're from South Central LA. Now, are you still based out of there? And if so, what is it about this area that makes you want to stay?
I grew up in LA, partially North Carolina. I was in Tennessee for a time, and then I also was in Cleveland, Ohio, growing up. How's my sound? My audio's good?
Oh, yeah.
Sound great.
Right. Yeah, so I was in all those places, but my main hub is Los Angeles. I grew up on the west side, Slauson and Crenshaw. You know, I'm used to it, so, you know, it's living, it's life to me, you know.
I hear that. Home is where you make it.
Absolutely.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were friends with another South Central businessman, the legendary Nip Hussle the Great?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Cut his hair. Been knowing him for a long time, since he was about I think he was 15 when he came up with the name Nipsey Hussle.
Oh,
and
wow.
he told us all about it in the barbershop. We laughed at him at first, but I noticed that he was determined to move with that name because he didn't laugh when we was laughing. We was kind of clowning. And he kept the name, kept it rolling. He stayed in the streets. I was managing a songwriter producer at the time named Jay Henn, Henny the Business, he goes by. He did all the girls around the world for Young Money. And I used to give him beat CDs so he could just get his exercise on. And some of those CDs, some of those beats actually wound up on some of his mixtapes, like Bullets Ain't Got No Name. And,
I was just going to say, was that the Bullet Ain't Got No Name series?
Yeah, it was a few joints, which also made Jay Henn mad at me because, you know, he felt as if I was giving him the beats. But, you know, it was my homeboy, man. I just wanted Nip to practice and get his exercise on because I knew that would take him to the next level.
Now, that's
Definitely.
interesting. Now, was this when you were the barbershop that you owned?
Yeah, on Crenshaw and 43rd, definitely. Yeah.
Wow. So you told us that you kind of the story that you told us of how you even got this barbershop is real special, which if anyone wants to hear that story, you're going to have to listen to the episode again on iTunes and Spotify.
Yeah.
But now at that point, you saw something in him and you decided to, you know, do what you can, whether that's provide CDs or just, you know, be a positive influence in his life. Was it something about him and the way he carried himself that separated him from people like him at his age?
Yeah, I related to him. You know, he was just determined to do what he wanted to do. He was determined to become one of the greats. He also was in tune with the history of hip hop. He was in tune with like old school rappers and they sound and, you know, how they were spitting. So he respected the game. And when I saw he respected it, because I love hip hop as well, when I saw that he respected it, I knew I had to help him any way I could on that level. And he was a good dude. So,
Yeah.
you know, it was just like, it was easy to help him. Definitely.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about like the lasting impact on the community? Like, you know, I believe the Marathon store is still there. I hope the spirit of, you know, entrepreneurship and keeping ownership and a lot of different things I've learned from Nip. I hope that, you know, that kind of spirit still is with everybody in the culture. But I wonder, like, is his spirit still, you know, how's it been in South Central?
It's still, you know, still mourning going on, but
yeah.
the store's not open anymore. They got it blocked off.
Okay.
They got you know, that whole area just it's like a they're building a train station right in that area, like for the it's called like Metrolink or something like that. So it's built they're building right in the area. So it's just nothing going on right now. But I know that everybody's still mourning and you know feeling the loss of Nipsey Hussle because he was like a light that all of us needed in the hood to see that all
Yeah.
it takes is determination and focus to really take things to the next level.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it was something I needed. I mean, just the technology, like the QR codes on the back of T-shirts, and
Yeah.
there was so many innovative ideas that I think artists we're going to start seeing more and more from, like in the coming years, things that he was already on. Think one other question we did want to follow up on, I think Fees mentioned it a little bit, is that you had the barbershop in, South Central where you had it prior to selling. And
Right.
you actually became the owner of that barbershop at 21 years old, right?
Right. Yeah. 2021. Yep.
So yeah, one thing we wanted to follow up on with you about that, man, is like, how was it being a business owner that young? Like, was it like a learning curve? Like, how did you do like the books, like, the budget? Like,
Man,
how was that?
shit, the first few years, what books? I was, was being young, running a business, and, everything was about going shopping, having fun. I was paying my taxes. I did everything I needed to do, but
Yeah.
it just was, it was fun, man. I learned through trial and error. And
Gotcha.
trust me, it was a lot of errors, and so
Yeah.
because there was a lot of errors, it gave me the opportunity to do better in the years to come. I was over there for like 18 years. So I was able to notice my mistakes, correct them, and then move forward in that correction. And that's what it's all about. It's just getting started. Like some people, they don't want to, make the initial jump without it being perfect, but there's nothing that's ever going to be perfect for the first time. Like you have to get started in order to be great, and so there's an old saying that says, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started in order to be great. And I live by that mantra.
Yeah.
That's another Kenyatta gem for you.
It's a bar. Yeah. Well, so what about even like managing personalities, like as a 21, 22-year-old? And, I imagine in the shop, you got like,
you got older barbers, you got people
egos and like
probably feel like I can't let no 21-year-old tell me what to do.
Yeah, it was a lot of that. I mean, definitely. I mean, you're gonna go through that, especially with some of your peers and some of your friends that work with you. Some people left, some people stayed, some people I had to get rid of. They weren't good for business. They just really couldn't adjust to me taking over the shop, a lot of them. Because at the time, I was the youngest person in the shop, actually, for many years.
Yeah.
Being 21 and just running the shop and doing big business. I mean, we even there was a few years we got nominated for Hoodie Awards through Steve Harvey's little thing he had going on out here. And, it was like, it was beautiful, man. It was like, but the problem that I had most of all was like the women, when you come into a lot of power, business power, and you start making a lot of money, unless you're really already aware and you're hip to the game and someone has told you certain things in business, you're still going to make the mistake. But men, what we do a lot of times is we trick our time off with a lot of random women, and it turns into simping, and I must say I was a big simp when I was in the beginning of my career as a barber and a business owner, because what happens is I started giving my energy over to so many different random women instead of staying focused on the one woman I did have at the time. So that's the major thing that I would say that I had to come around and correct in my later years.
Now that's an important thing to mention, just because that translates to beyond just relationships, and that translates directly into business. Was there a point where you felt like your mindset wasn't where it needed to be in terms of just fully putting all your effort and your mindset into your business?
It wasn't so much because it was so much money coming in. I had a large clientele myself. I was working on sets doing some certain entertainers, and then I had about 21, 22 people paying me $150 a week. We're talking about, that was the stable number. Like I had one of the biggest shops on Crenshaw before this other shop came on the block, named the New Millennium, which I had a part of, which I was actually involved in starting. And
you created your own competition.
Yeah, well, one of my clients, he came into town and he wanted to go into the barbershop business, and I named the shop. I told them how to lay it out and everything, but I pulled out for my own personal reasons, some things that I just didn't want to be involved in. And it worked out, even for them. But as far as my shop, we had rules. I had rules in my shop. I had standards. I had things that, certain bylaws that no one could break, and so that's really the number one thing with anything you're doing. You have to have your rules. You got to have your boundaries, because if you don't, especially when you're doing independent business or any business, I mean, it turns into anarchy. People can run amok. Yeah.
That's a fact. So you recently sold the barbershop, well, like a few years ago, right?
Yeah, it's been longer than that. It's been about 4 or 5 years now. Yeah. Like when Damon and I first started, sitting on the couch, like maybe a year into that, possibly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it might be a year or two into that.
Is that the reason why you sold the barbershop? Because you were transitioning to like writing the book with Dame and putting out the documentaries?
No, I was already transitioning out of that business. It was like I love writing and putting projects together and filming more than I like, just sitting in a barbershop collecting money from people. I still cut hair, but I just outgrown that situation. You know how it is when you outgrow something, you have to move forward. And in the streets we call it letting your nuts hang. And I'm a big guy on letting my nuts hang, because I walk away from something that no longer suits me. And that's including relationships. So, the same way with business is the same way you got to run your relationship. Is like you have to be willing to, sometimes walk away and say, hey, I'm gonna come new. I'm gonna start brand new here.
Yeah. I think that's a really, really important thing is just knowing when, and that voice comes from inside though, right? It's like sometimes it can be like an instinctual thing or like an intuitive thing to where like, when you got to leave it alone. And we see that in movies all the time, like especially like those Kingpin Mafia type movies, to where they didn't listen to their instinct when it told them to give up or it's time to transition into a new phase. And then that's the moment when everything falls apart and turns into a disaster. So yeah, I definitely think that's a very
it's important, man. Not to cut you off, it's important because for me, I was at a high for so long. Yeah. And then I started feeling the lows of the business. And I went through a few lows, because like anything, everything's under the pendulum swing. So there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. And so in that situation, I felt like it wasn't challenging me anymore as a man. And for 18 straight years, it was nothing but success. And because it didn't challenge me, it didn't really.
You weren't fulfilled.
I didn't have a feeling of commitment. I didn't want to commit to it anymore. I just wasn't into it, because it was too easy for me. And so I walked away. I was still cutting hair on sets. I was working with LL Cool J on NCIS. I was working with T.I., all these different entertainers, not to name drop, but I was able
name
to
drop.
take
We
care of my
appreciate
bills.
that. Name drop.
You said name drop. Yeah, I was able to take care of my bills, take care of my family, and so it became a thing where it wasn't so much about the money. It's about my own happiness, and I felt happier with creating than I did with sitting in the barbershop collecting money from different people.
Sorry to cut you off. Now you had the barbershop, but you also had a lot of high-end celebrity clients where you would go to their sets. Explain the biggest difference between cutting hair in the barbershop and dealing with, celebrities and things of that nature.
Well, for me, it's not too much of a difference, because where most barbers and beauticians win at is when they perfect their craft in the barbershop, in the salon, and then they take it over into the world stage, which is like entertainment, but you have to make sure that you're always making sure everyone that you're doing is on point. So, I mean, I call doing hair drawing all day with no eraser. And so that's where we perfect our style and our skills. And then when we get to sets and these entertainers seek our professionalism, it's just easier, man. It's a difference, because the only difference is you have to be on time. There's no room for mistakes, actually, even more so on set, because it's lights, camera, action. There's no room for mistake in the barbershop, because it's also lights, camera, action when people walk out the salon. It's just no eraser. So my mentality is always like most barbers and beauticians, we already have sort of like a perfectionist thing where we want to make sure that our client is satisfied with the look we have given them or what they have asked for. And see, that's what's important, is just really being able to give that person what they're looking for, and then using your own expertise to sharpen up whatever it is they're looking for, and that's how it works.
Mm. Now, would you say that your experience in that world and coming across a bunch of different celebrities helped you transition into writing a book and giving you different examples on now, for our audience, can you just give them a little explanation on what exactly the Culture Vulture is and what the whole genesis of that idea was?
Oh, okay. So yeah, the Culture Vultures book was something that I kept hearing Damon Dash say when we were doing our videos through Hip Hop Motivation, and he kept saying Culture Vulture, Culture Vulture, and I was like, yeah, that would be a great name for a book, you know. And I'm like, you know, and Dame, he's so witty, and he comes with so many different things, so many different topics. He can answer any topic, he can talk about anything, and so like he's very fluent and unfiltered. And originally the book, I was calling it Reasonable Clout, not Reasonable Doubt. Like Reasonable Doubt was the name of the album, but Reasonable Clout, because I felt like he still has a certain amount of clout in the industry among his peers, where people know his worth and they know how he gets down. You know, he's the Phil Jackson of the Tex Winter of the Michael Jordan saga. And so you can't refute that.
That's a great explanation for Dame in a way. I've probably never heard that before. Usually we hear like I don't want to say all the negative things, but you hear about the things that everyone's easy to see, right? Like the quick viral clip, you'll see him, speaking in a certain way or maybe presenting himself a certain way, but you got to see the real Dame.
Dame is cool, man. Dame is real cool. He's easy to get along with. For me, I would say, I couldn't say, I can't speak for anyone else, but I know for me, because, we both similar in our execution and how we get down with, our aggressiveness and how we execute things in business. And, I just kept writing this book. I kept collecting data, and we named it Culture Vultures. And I asked him, could we, would he want to name it that? And he was game. He was with it. We continued to record. I continued to write. I continued to just come up with different topics that I wanted him to speak on, because I felt like it was important for me not to move away from the people getting valuable information that can help them in business as well as life. Instead of just asking them questions about Jay-Z and Kanye and Beanie, all that stuff. I mean, that's typical. It's kind of like the interviews that you see him on now. Like people always ask him about Jay-Z and Rockefeller. That's typical, man.
And we heard the same. If you follow Dan, we heard these same responses a million times.
You already know the answer to it, man. And if you don't know the answer to it, go back and look at some of the old footage from back in the day.
Do your own research. Do
your own research, man. And that's why I can't even take watching his interviews, because I interviewed Dame to death down there. Like, what can you ask Dame that I haven't asked? There's nobody that can ask. I mean, damn, you can ask him, like, does he like cotton or silk or some shit like that? But I've asked him everything you can ask him about business and how he gets down and how he plans and how he so-called goes to the future and come back, which is imagination. And I mean, I asked him to death, man. And me and my crew, we got together and we just kept interviewing him. And it was, the whole process, man, I wouldn't change it for the world, man. And there you have it. Culture Vultures, the book came about.
So one question I did have to ask you about that follow-up is it took a really long time, like, for the book to be produced. I think it was like multiple years of collecting data and collecting interviews. Like, was that frustrating? Like, did you ever feel like, man, this is not going to get put out, or you know what I mean? You ever doubt yourself a little bit? Because that's a long time, man.
I never. I don't doubt, on that level, because, whether it's somebody comes in with a gang of grease in their hair and their hair is matted, I just know there's a process to getting the result that you want to see being a barber. Even in barbering, in order to say if someone comes with a big ass afro and it's matted and it's caked up dirt, they just got out of jail or something, and I gotta give this person a ball fade, a clean low ball fade, where they still have waves or something like that. I know that it's going to take time to get that look. For me, it'll take 15, 20 minutes. Where the book, on the other hand, it took about a year and a half to do. But we're talking about in that year and a half, in those years prior, I was collecting data. So it was like a plan that I set out and a vision that I set out to do something that I already knew was going to take time. Because I wasn't willing to because I could have did it the first year we was recording videos, but I felt like I wanted to give the culture something more, something of substance, instead of just rushing a project. you know, because I didn't need to rush it. You know what I'm saying? I'm already making my money cutting hair. I'm
True.
I'm all right. I walked away from big money at the barbershop, so it's not about money with me. You know, where most people it's about money. To me, it's about the spirit of what you're doing, the spirit of the business. It's you know, and where, you know, coming from your heart, because the heart is the most powerful frequency. And if you come from your heart, there's other hearts that it will touch. And people feel that book. They love it, man. I get hit up every single day about the Culture Vultures book. And I know why, because I came from my heart and Dame spoke from his heart. And so what better brand and what better project could you get from two men that put their heart into something?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's an alpha. I'm an alpha. We speak from our heart. I don't, you know, most of the time you see me on the videos, there's a lot of times I wanted to say stuff, but my objective was to let everyone in the hood get a glimpse of what it feels like to be a CEO, on what it feels like and what it sounds like to do big business.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, so I spent my time sitting there, right, yeah, right, yeah.
No, I mean,
okay, so what do you think? Boom, boom, boom. And he would answer the question. And this was the process. It may have made me look like an idiot, like I didn't know how to talk, but at the end of the day, I didn't care what nobody thought. And
you were trying to get that information
because I had to collect data in order to put forth the book that I wanted to write on Dame.
You were doing all the hard work, right? Essentially, you understood that at that point.
I can't say I did all the hard work, but the writing process is hard work.
No, what I mean by that is the hard work in terms of not speaking up and voicing your opinion.
That's tough. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. That was tough. I mean, sometimes I would, but I felt as if at the time, you know, because I just always felt like when I would be around the Rockefeller crew, Dame, Biggs, and occasionally Jay would be around at the end. And I just always felt like if I only had a camera where I could collect this information that this guy is saying, because he would be talking to all of them about business, doing big business and what they plan on, what he plans, what he sees for them in the future, and just bring that back to the shop and show my guys in the shop or some of the ladies in the shop, it would be life-changing, because this is the way you do big business. You have to go to the future and come back. You have to use your imagination. You have to imagine the possibilities, and it exists for you, and you can have it. And that's what Dame would always do. Even when he came over Rockaware, he already knew what was going to happen. You know what I'm saying? He saw Wu Wear through my boy Power. Shout out to Power from Wu-Tang. He saw Wu Wear backstage one day, and he was like, "Yo, y'all got your own brand?" And then Dame said, he was like, "Man, no more Iceberg, no more us wearing Versace and all these other people's brands, man. I gotta come up with my own." Wow. And that's what he did.
Speaking of the Wu, usually people always ask whenever having like hip hop conversations, they always ask like, who are your top 5 rappers? Who are your top 5 clients?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Shit. Entertainer, top 5 entertainers. I mean, all of them are like great, man. Like I haven't had. Let me see who. I like Cutting Jeezy. That's, you know, he's a good dude. T.I.'s always good. You know, he clowns a lot. He's a cool guy.
You cut his hair expeditiously?
Yeah. For many years, I cut him expeditiously. Yeah. Shit, man. I'm trying to think, man, because you know, after a while, if you start cutting certain people, you don't look at them as entertainers hardly. Like I stopped, you know, kind of. It's like somebody saying, "Oh, damn, he's known." It's just my homeboy. It's like you know, it's like you two talking to each other, and it's like all of a sudden when y'all blow up, and it's like, I know you. Like I'm not, you know, what I'm saying, my boy. Like, you know, shit is so many. LL's cool. You know, LL was one. LL hit me to a lot of books. Okay. Interesting, man. LL is he's very smart, very sharp. Like might be one of the smartest clients I've been around. He might be tied with Dame a little bit.
Oh wow.
If I could sit down with LL and give you guys some of the same questions I gave Dame, oh shit. Man, LL Cool J is a sharp dude, man. For real.
We got another book coming out by Kenyatta and LL.
No, man, maybe so. But you know, it's like he hit me to a book called The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. Okay. That was a life-changing book for me as well. And he gave me some game on how to read these books and how to process this information. Like, it's real sharp, man. Real, you know what I'm saying? I mean, he's deeper than just the workout videos and working out and doing all this stuff. And it's like he's a sharp dude, man.
Yeah,
Like, he's
yeah,
one of
yeah.
my favorites as well. Yeah.
And
I
that,
can go on. Oh, of course, all the Red Man. Oh shit, Red is like my. See, it's like it's hard for me to really say like based on entertainers because Red is like a good friend of mine.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like he comes through. He comes to my house. He be chilling. He go on my refrigerator. Like it's my homeboy.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
The thing I think my favorite thing about your work is like I think a lot of people don't even think like when people see like somebody successful, they don't even think about like the hard work that goes in beyond it. And like what you did with your work was like show kind of like remove the curtain a little bit to show like the step by step of like people see, especially like with Rockefeller, people just saw like pouring champagne and you know what I mean. And then you don't think about like somebody like Dame like somebody was like the CEO of Coke or Pepsi or something like that. For whatever reason, people don't think that. But like what you told us last time about him like studying every day and being on the whiteboard every day or strategizing. Like I said, I think that's my favorite part about your work is like you kind of remove the curtain and show like, yo, these guys are on it. Like they're winning.
Business minds. These are not just these are not entertainers. These are business.
They're winning because they work more than everybody. Yeah.
Right. And I felt like that's important, man, especially because I'm in the hood. My barbershop is in the hood, so the people I come in contact with the streets, being a barber. It's deeper than just me cutting entertainers. I come in contact with the real people, the people that have real jobs and people that don't have real jobs. They're looking for a real job. You know what I'm saying? So why would I give them gossip? Why would I give them some shit on, we sitting around talking about 50 Cent or, what somebody else is doing, or, Jay-Z, and like, well, I don't want to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? It's like people really out here need real information, man, not no gossip. Any man that be sitting around gossiping, that's a female. That's not a man. You know what I'm saying? What the hell I want to gossip about? You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to anybody that does that on their platform and that's what they want to do and they want to talk about what some other rapper is doing and what somebody's doing because that's a platform for that. But for me, through hip hop motivation, I wasn't in a rush to be putting out videos on, okay, I want to get Dame talking about Jay and say something scandalous. Man, you can go put it like this. I got a body of work. You can go back to all my work. You ain't never heard me say no fuck shit about nobody. Excuse my French.
Yeah. It's always productive.
I don't, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I respect Jay. I respect Dame. I respect every man, every woman. So it's like, everybody does they stuff. Everybody has bullshit. Everybody's under the law of polarity. Everybody that think they good, there's something bad. You know what I'm saying? Somebody thinks something bad. It's always going to be darkness and light in every personality. So nobody can really speak on anybody.
Yeah.
And even when Dame, there's sometimes when Dame would, not to cut you off, sometimes when Dame would say things and I didn't agree, but that's not no big deal to me because there's things I might say that he might not agree with, but somebody's going to agree with it.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters, man. It's like, just do you.
And to zoom out a little bit, like that's what even Fees and I talk about, like especially with the podcast. Like right now, the podcast market is so saturated, but like we're like, if we're doing something productive, if we're giving people like usable and skills they can apply tomorrow, that's how you separate yourself. Because right now you got grown men talking about the WAP video and all that. You know what I mean? Like, what is that?
Well, it's like it's interesting, man, because people just run and just, we talked about current events. I'm not saying we don't talk about current events, and that's fine. But I'm talking about, like, if you talk about a current event, make sure that there's some form of outcome from it, or there's a solution to whatever problem you see, or something that someone can learn something from. So, because that's what it's all about, man.
Is that ever frustrating to you though? Because I was thinking about this after we talked about how like the first video that went viral was like Dean talking about Solange and all that. Meanwhile, y'all did so many other videos that was so much game, but what World Star decided to pick up was Dame Dash comments on Solange for like a 2-3 minute video, and it's like, yo, y'all completely.
That's got to be the gift and the curse, right?
Yeah, you get frustrated.
We weren't mad at it. It was current. It was an absolute current event because it had just happened that day when I had talked to Dame, and he was laughing at it. He knows him, so shit. I mean, and it was funny. I didn't even ask that question. The guy that we had originally filming the videos for us, a guy named Sean. He actually asked Dame about it, Dame talked about it. It was funny. You know, he expressed like, because it was funny to everybody that saw that video. Like, damn, Solange just kicking someone in the elevator, you know, and he did the right thing. He didn't hurt her or beat her up. So, you know, he was a man about it. You know, some men wouldn't have held back in that situation, as we all know. But thank God Jay-Z held back.
And we got 3 great albums out of it. So, I mean,
there you go. Because imagine if he didn't hold back, then it would have turned into something else, and it wouldn't have been so funny. But it's you know, it's like it's a gift and a curse. Absolutely, you're absolutely right. But we weren't mad at it, man, because you know you're going to talk about current events, because current events is what can actually soothe the savage beast of gossip. You know, people want that. You know, some people need that. You know, every now and then, you know, you might see something pop up on your YouTube or on your page, and it's like, this is going on right now. Oh, Megan Thee Stallion did this. She got shot in the foot. You know, it's like, I mean, how can you escape it, man? You're in the world and you're hearing things, and especially with me being a barber, I don't watch TV too much, but I come across what's going on from my clients. And like, that's how I found out even Kobe Bryant had died that time. My client walked in, was like, you know, Kobe died. I'm like, what?
Wow.
And that's how I found out. I didn't go on the news and check out nothing.
So that was a sad day. And ironically,
absolutely.
I was on a plane flying out west when that was going going.
Yeah.
So like, it's like one by one, everybody's on the planes, like standing up, like I'm like, what's going on? And my phone,
that was crazy.
Kobe died?
Yeah,
get me off this plane.
So I was up early, man, cutting that morning, and you know, it didn't look too foggy to me, but they said it was foggy. But I guess I don't know, you know.
And I do want to cap that up. I think the key takeaway from that is like what you said is like it's okay to talk about current events, but make sure there's some type of objective there, or stay focused on when people.
That's for me. I can't say what anyone else should do, but for me, the man that I am, I'm gonna make sure that I always come with some form of objective and solution to any problem, man. I don't feel like I have children, so I couldn't live with myself if I'm sitting up gossiping and I'm talking about somebody else that's getting their own money and I have to build my career off of someone else's back. You know what I'm saying? Based on gossiping or based on trying to tear someone else down. I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? That'd be like me slapping a woman. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'll walk away. Right. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be a man, and that's the main thing. It's like I'm just trying to get people back into manhood, man, being men. You know, and women they have it a little easier when it comes to their own thing. You know what I'm saying? But as far as men being men, it's not a lot of people representing right, man. People out here trying to, they got you.
We gotta do better. We gotta do better.
Yeah, they got you reacting to everything and gossiping, and it's weird, man.
I think you had a chapter in your book actually about that, about how like. When I think you're going through some issues with like your child's mother, you talked about in your book, and like how
definition of a man,
definition of a man, and as a man, when you change how you were projecting yourself, that changes how people respect you, back. How do people perceive you?
Found myself arguing all the time, getting into it with her, and going back and forth. And the more and more I did, I was like, damn. And then I was like, looking one day, I was like, this didn't change anything. All this arguing and going back, what did it do? Like, it just made her look at me as undisciplined, and the worst thing you can be in the face of any woman is undisciplined. Everything you want to show, the main thing a man wants to show to any woman is discipline, control. You're not going to make me do anything I don't want to do.
Yeah.
As soon as you go outside of that and you don't show you undisciplined, she's not going to respect you. You're one of her homegirls now. And
speaking of, you mentioned fatherhood now a couple of times. How do you now? Are your kids old enough to start talking about business? And at what point, at what age do you start, bringing up these conversations?
From the cradle, man. Like as soon as they can understand what's going on. Like I had my son with me. My son is 25 years old right now because I had him when I was way young. So he has his own weave company right now. You know what I'm saying? He's out here. He's on his way to LA right now to bring some packages down. That's, he made like about a few thousand in one day off of selling weave here. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I'm proud of that because he's seen me get it. He's seen me get up early in the morning and go get that bread. He's seen me with my own product. He's seen me do all these different business moves, and those seeds were implanted in him, and he just took it to the next level.
And outside of that, because you mentioned before how you were very successful. You had the barbershop for, 15, 20 years. And it wasn't fulfilling because it wasn't really what you wanted to do. And the money was no longer like the main motivator. How do you instill in your kids to have a sense of worth or figure out what exactly it is that's going to fulfill them, because money's never going to do that?
Well, I'm a firm believer in working on your purpose, staying focused on your purpose. You know, a lot of us get caught up on jobs and money, but, you know, money is great. Money pays bills. You know, money's just as important as oxygen. But what's more important is happiness, you know, and it goes back around to, you say, how do you connect business and relationships? Is they're one and the same, because come home every day and you have a job that you hate and you're with a young lady that you live with. She's going to look at you like a sucker because you keep coming in complaining about it, but you're not doing anything about it to change it. When you come in happy and you are working on something, that happiness transmits within the union of the relationship, and she in turn reflects happiness back to you.
That's
You
a
see what
great.
I'm saying?
That's a
Even
great
if you're not making, because it's deeper than money. See, a lot of men think it's just money. No, it's deeper than that. You know, real true manhood is going and focusing on your purpose. It's going after what it is you truly want to do in life. Because you're not really living, and you're not going to be happy until you get on your purpose and do what it is that you truly love to do. And the way you find out what you truly love to do is connected to your hobby. What do you love?
You basically just explain why me and Nick even started this whole podcast and business venture, because we spent so much of the time we actually enjoyed was the time where we were just sitting talking group chats, you know, discussing all the business things that we always are interested anyways. And I mean, I know my people in my life have noticed it, and, you know, Nick's mentioned the same thing, but since we started this, everyone around us has kind of noticed the difference. Like our energy is different. Our swag is different. We have a lot more, I guess, energy, just
alignment.
Talk about what we're doing. You know what I mean? So I think
and guess what? That will absolutely trickle off into your personal life. You know, in your personal relationships. If you don't have a girlfriend, when you get a woman or whatever, trust me, it's going to trickle off into that, because happiness, you reflecting happiness, giving off happiness, she's going to reflect it right back to you.
Speaking of what you're doing, you've already done a lot in your life. Obviously, you're a successful business person. What's next for you? What's the next venture?
Well, just what I'm doing now, man. I'm on my purpose every single day. I'm writing. I'm studying. I'm doing a lot of research. I'm doing different types of. I'm doing actually 3 different projects at one time right now. So, you know, I put like about 2 hours into 2 different projects, and then I put an hour into this other project. So it's like I just have my time set. Like on my alarm clock, my alarm goes off for each project that I do. My alarm might go off at 10 o'clock in the morning for one of the projects I'm working on. Then it'll go off at 2 o'clock for another project, and then later on in the evening it'll go off at 8. And as soon as that alarm goes off, I know that's when it's time to work, regardless of what's going on. I got to put in the work in order to see the results and see a finished product. And that's how I do it. Okay. My alarm clock on my phone is set like that.
How much would you say, like thinking about, we talked a little bit about having children and how early you should teach them business. How much would you say, like thinking about legacy and passing something to your kid, how much of that is like on your forefront when you out there getting it?
That's important. Definitely, man. I mean, you know, it's like, that's something that we should all strive for, because, you know, there's nothing like getting a head start. You know, that's the difference between Black people in regards to when they communicate about coming out of slavery and just being like thrown into the streets. Take care of yourself. You know, when we're talking about these people that we've built their farms and their plantations and their businesses, and they have so much of a head start against us, it's so hard to catch up because we had to start from zero.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where the talk of reparations comes in. But the reparations talk has a polarity of weird. It's a weird conversation, because do you feel like you should take reparations for someone that raped you or raped your mother?
Yeah.
Can you really say that I would take care of it? But then you would take the money, like most of us. We would take the money, but would that be the answer?
Nah.
For what happened to us, or
yeah.
You know, so it's one of those things, man. You can get caught up in that stuff, but like I said, man, it's nothing better than giving your child a head start. You know, I feel like most Black people, especially, because I grew up Black.
Yeah.
We emancipated our children too soon. You know, we on some get a job, get out. so I don't
Yeah.
have to take care of you no more. And that's not the way you want to go about it. You want to put your child in a position where they have a certain amount of comfort to go ahead and execute and go to school and do the things they need to do so they can be successful for the future. And it's just an investment. That's an investment. Kicking them out of school, kicking them out of home too early, that means they're going to have to get a job. And once that job comes, a lot of times when people go to school, they put the money before the job. So they'll quit school and they're like, shit, I got to make this money. I got to pay my car note. Now they're accumulating things that's putting them deeper and deeper into slavery. And so because they're now a slave to the bill, they have to pay in order to play. They have to continue to pay these bills or continue to go into a deeper form of slavery. And so I feel like we had just emancipated our children too much. I think like one of the best gifts we can give our children besides money and property is the ability to work on their craft and develop their purpose, go to school, commit to whatever it is they're trying to commit to. And it has to be a commitment in order for you to take care of your child like that. Like if your child ain't doing nothing but playing video games all day, I don't believe in just committing to that. They have to do something that will better and help them in their future. That's what I believe. But emancipating your child, kicking them out the house early, I don't believe in that. That's the best thing you can do for a legacy.
Yeah.
Instead of just giving them the money, because that don't mean that they're equipped to take care of the money or to take care of the property.
Our tagline at the show is information is our form of reparations. Information is reparations, because the money, the money is just the Band-Aid, but the information and passing the mindset and principles is that's the real thing. We
that's the benefit, man. You're absolutely right, man. That's the benefit. That's the jewel, because I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you see people do this all the time, leave their children tons of money and they trick it off. And that's because they didn't put in any hard work. They didn't have to work for it, and you definitely want some form of delayed gratification going on within your household in order for your child to understand that you have to work in order to achieve what it is you want to achieve. Delayed gratification is one of the most important things we got to get in tune with. Just learning that thing. That's really how I wrote Culture Vultures, the book. It was called Delayed Gratification. I didn't look at it like, oh, it's just so far off.
Yeah.
I know that there has to be a form of delayed gratification in order to achieve anything. You can't just expect it to be like, oh, well, the book's going to be written in one day. Then it's not going to be the best product naturally because you just rushed it. You microwaved it. We all know that food is better when you cook it on the stove or in an oven opposed to a microwave.
Yeah.
Sure, the microwave is fast,
right,
but it kills the nutrients you really need from that food and from those vegetables. You put vegetables on the stove and you steam them a little, not too much. You get all the nutrients you need. It's always better.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You take your time and you delay that gratification.
And I think that's that's like the shift right now that we're trying to, come back from a little bit, is that with the internet, with the tech revolution, we've grown so accustomed to instant gratification, right? Everything is right now. I have a thought, I'm putting it out there, I'm gonna tweet it, I'm gonna put it on Facebook, I'm gonna put a video up, I'm gonna go live.
Right.
And then it's like there's no thought behind it. There's no real understanding of like the implications of what you're saying and what you're doing, right? And
I agree.
Just like anything else, when it takes time to do is when you'll really truly appreciate what you accomplish, right? So whether that's school, whether that's work, whether that's starting your own business, sometimes the longer it takes, the more gratifying it is when you actually complete it, because it's the process. It's the whole actual it's the whole process that is actually the important part. The journey is really what is the gem, as opposed to the end result.
It's like Thanksgiving. It's like Thanksgiving dinner for anybody who celebrates Thanksgiving. You got to wait on the food to cook. You know what I'm saying?
We definitely celebrate.
You go to grandma's house, and whatever holiday, whatever party it is, you going by there. It has to cook. It has to. They got to put the time in baking the stuff and getting things ready. And shit, when you sit down at the table, man, that's the best part. You like, wow, look at this.
Better,
things together. Delayed gratification.
Absolutely.
That's the best.
Kenyatta, as you know, we always like to wrap up our interviews with our final question.
The hustler mantra.
The hustler mantra. And since, this is our first video, we really wanted to, before we get there, thank you for being the catalyst for us even doing this video. Because you mentioned it earlier and you talked about the biggest impediment sometimes is just trying to make everything perfect. And for me personally, I've always was like, we can't do a video right now. It's on Zoom. I hate Zoom. It's all we do. We got to be in person. People aren't going to feel it. I hate it. And you know, between you and Nick, you've kind of just basically forced me to be like, look, do it ugly, bro. You got to do it. You know, it's not a mistake if you just go and do it. So
what he said, get started. You know, he's like, you can't be great. Yeah, if you don't get started, you got to start to get good.
The quote goes, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started in order to be great. That's just
and we trying to be great. So
so you see my videos, I mean, shit, go back and watch them, and you be like, damn, you can hear, like now I'm telling you, you can hear the boom mic, you can see the camera moving, I mean, the angles were dumb. I didn't have no business sitting in certain, you know, it's like you learn, man, as you go. You're like, okay, now I know. So now if I sit down with someone, I know that the camera has to be set up a certain way. I know the boom mic and the microphones and the lavaliers need to be here. I mean, it's just all those mistakes were valuable, man. Like I have so much valuable information from the mistakes I made.
You got to
just not even in film and game, but just in life, man. I've made those mistakes. Man, you're going to miss every damn shot you don't take, and everything you do is a gamble. Driving down the street is a gamble. So just look, bet on yourself, place the bet, and just keep playing. Do what you got to do, man, and don't get so focused on it being because it's never going to be perfect. You know, even the movies we see and all the TV shows, do you know how many directors and actors go back and be like, they critique, I didn't do good in this. I'm sure Denzel was like on scenes of Malcolm X, and Malcolm X was such a good movie. I'm sure in his mind he sees something like, I could have did that better. So I was like, damn, like this movie is like perfect, but to us it is. But no one really sees your imperfections. Really, only you see them. It's like the pimple on your nose. Sometimes people don't notice that pimple until you start picking at it and you showing people, like, look at my pimple. Mm-hmm. Oh, you got a pimple. They didn't even know it was there. They weren't even paying attention until you brought it to their attention. So it's just starting, man. Just stepping into it, man. Step into your greatness and go after your purpose. That's all it's about.
That's real, man.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And also, I want to tell y'all, I appreciate y'all for having me on. You know, I felt like you guys have great potential to do great things in the podcast movement. You know, maybe even one day do your own movie like this, whatever. I mean, I don't know how long the quarantine is gonna last, but I just felt like, you know, you sounded like a lot, like you guys are like sounded like my team when I first started, because my team was doing the same thing. Well, we don't have this, we don't have that. We need this type of camera, and it wasn't so much that they were afraid, but it's just like, let's just do it. Like, who cares? So what? The worst somebody can tell you is they can critique you on. They used to critique us on the music I used to use. They used to critique us on, kids sitting there and like, and I used to look at all this stuff. I used to read the YouTube quotes. I stopped even reading that stuff because it's like, what is it? I can read it because for me, I don't have low self-esteem. My self-esteem is like, who gives a fuck what you think? It's never what you think. It's what I think about myself. Why would I care what you think anyway? You know what I'm saying? Born alone, die alone. Like, what the fuck? Like, why would I care what any man thinks? Like, just do it. And then what you start seeing is like people doing it, the people critiquing you, or the people who ain't doing it.
Yeah.
How you gonna talk about me? How you gonna tell me and you ain't even doing it? You ain't trying.
Everybody can tell you how to do it. They never did it.
Yeah. You a homeless man giving real estate advice and you never owned a house. How can you?
Like
I don't understand.
Giving relationship advice.
Yeah.
You a person that has no kids, no children, and you telling me how to raise my children. You've never had that opportunity. And you don't even have a degree in child psychology. You're just telling me what to do because based on what you said you witnessed. That's cool. And people can give you advice, but
because you watch the Cosby Show.
You know? Yeah, because you watch. Yeah, because you saw something on TV. Oh, come on, man. On and on, man. But you know, but
they're never the
game is stepping up. Step up.
And
step up, man. And I'm glad y'all stepped into it, man. Like shit. I mean, this is what it is, man. We're gonna look back. This is the first video. It's gonna be more to come, I'm sure.
For sure.
And, you know, it's dope, man. Because at the end of the day, shit, man. Like, damn, you got to get started.
Yeah.
And what better way to get started?
And with that, I think you answered our question in a roundabout way in terms of
the hustle mantra.
The mantra is like, just do it.
Just do it. Nike.
Just do it.
Nike.
Word.
That's it. You know, I mean, I
No.
know we all wear Nikes from time to time, but we have, but it's just do it, man. They're absolutely right. Just do it. Step into it.
Facts. Once again, Kenyatta, thank you so much for everything, for being
Yeah.
a wonderful guest, for
doing the show with us
for helping
twice.
us, behind
yeah.
behind the scenes, giving us game, and just being a living embodiment of the principles that you like to preach.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
once again,
Absolutely.
thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being our first video guest, and we'll definitely have you back on to catch up with what you got going on next.
Absolutely, man. Anytime, man. Thank you for having me.
99 Jesus. 99 Jesus.